Hi, I'm author Michele Morano, and I'm happy to be here with Indie for Indies to talk a little bit about the writing life during a pandemic and also about the plight of independent bookstores at this difficult time. Independent bookstores are the heart and soul of every literary community, and it is so important that we support them now so that they'll continue to be there for us when this is over. A little bit of an introduction. I am an essayist. I also write fiction, but my books are collections of essays. The first is called Grammar Lessons, Translating a Life in Spain. And the second, which is due out on September 25th, is called Like Love. It's an essay collection about unconsummated romance. So the kinds of crushes and infatuations and odd romantic entanglements that we can get ourselves into throughout our lives, even and maybe especially when there isn't any future for them. We're not interested in a future. And yet they still are romantic encounters. This is where I work during the pandemic quite a lot. This is my home office. It's a very small room off the guest bedroom of the house I share with my partner and our 12-year-old son in the Edgewater neighborhood of Chicago. It's a room that is smaller than a lot of people's walk-in closets. It's not particularly quiet. We live on a street with a fair amount of traffic, and there's a metro track half a block away. People are always walking by, singing and talking, and none of this do I hear at all when I'm writing. Although when I'm recording, I'm very aware that it's out there. This is a room that totally suits my purpose. The most important part is that I have a tall desk so I can stand while I work. I also have a tall chair so I can sit while I work. I have a meditation cushion on the floor over here and then a kind of comfortable chair there. Everything is about 1.5 feet from each other, so there's not a lot of commuting time going on around here. The most important part for my writing setup is a large screen monitor. I can't recommend this enough. Revision is so much the center of writing, and it helps me tremendously to be able to open multiple documents at one time and move back and forth between them, or in a book to move back and forth between various sections of it and be able to see things all at once. So this is where I spend some of my time working during the pandemic. I also, though, work in various other places in the house, the front porch, the back deck, the backyard. I have a hammock where I'll take my laptop. If I'm working on something particularly difficult, I'm not above climbing into bed with lots of cushions and just making myself as physically comfortable as possible so that I can really focus in on the difficult work of writing. Pre-pandemic, though, I worked at home all over the house, but I also worked in public places, in coffee shops, as so many of us writers do, and in cafes attached to bookstores. Chicago has the wonderful bookseller with its beautiful cafe, and I've seen lots of writers working there as I've spent some hours. Volumes Book Cafe in Chicago is also a wonderful place to work. And then just as a side note, the other independent bookstores that I personally frequent regularly are Women and Children First, which I'm so fortunate to live within walking distance of, 57th Street Books and Sanctuary Co-op Bookstore in Hyde Park, and the Bookends and Beginnings in Evanston. This is just scratching the surface of the many, many wonderful bookstores that we have in this town. There isn't too much to show you in terms of decor. I tend to have kind of a mishmash approach that displays various things from my travels. Some of the places I love to travel most are Spain, India, and Lebanon. But I did want to show, I took this one thing off the wall to show you. It's a broadside of the first page of an essay from my first collection called The Quemada. And it was created by the marvelous poet Todd Kaneko, who teaches at Grand Valley State University. I went there as a visiting writer a couple of years ago, and he presented me with this beautiful print, and I keep it on the wall now just as a memory of that kindness. So shout out to Todd. I really still appreciate that very much. I'm gonna give you a little shot of some of the books I've purchased recently from independent bookstores. Just a few of the things that are on my reading list or that I've read recently and have really enjoyed. There's so much really amazing writing out at this moment. And then finally, I wanted to show you this marvelous book. It's a collection of lyric essays by Sejal Shah called This Is One Way to Dance. And they're essays about identity and cultural history, family history. It's really a beautiful book. And I'm just going to share a small section from an essay which is called Your Wilderness is Not Permanent. I don't remember much about that night except that the temperature dropped in the desert once the sun set. If I am cold, there is almost nothing I will not do to get warm again, including breaking into a strange car close to midnight. I do remember this. Hundreds of points of light lit the inky darkness, glittering until the dust storm arose. The night sky stretched, yawning to show the Milky Way's silvery ellipse, an elongated spirograph spinning. Stars shot out here and there, crisscrossing the sky. We snapped on light sticks as bracelets, as chokers, slender bands of fluorescent yellow, green, red, blue, orange. We biked toward the arch structures, blazing in the darkness. The figure of a woman arching, hands clasped in a balletic pose. The temple outlined in the bright colors of Christmas tree lights, almost winking. We rode through swirls of dust until the outlines of arch structures appeared, magic, lit up against the dusty night sky. And then I was by myself. I was alone. I didn't know where my camp was. I could not locate anything, no landmarks. I didn't recognize myself, but for the desperate attempt to vanquish the cold, my personal kryptonite. The cold makes it hard to stay within the contours of your own skin. So that's a book I highly recommend. And that's it for me today. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you especially for supporting your local independent bookstores. It is so important that we continue to have these small businesses available. They're essential for writers, for readers, for community. Thanks.